Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review, we are looking at the Manga Realization Samurai Spider-Man, which is basically the Spider-Man in the same style as all of those Star Wars figures that look like samurais now. Now, somebody told me this figure was terrible. I didn't really look at it up close prior to the person saying that, and I thought, maybe they're being a little overly critical. And while it does do some things really well, they were not too far off. It's got some serious issues, mostly in the design, but we're going to go ahead and talk about all of those things as we go through the review. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand so we can take a closer look. This guy stands just about 7¼ inches tall, which makes it right around 18½ centimeters. Now, don't get me wrong when I said the person was mostly right about it being terrible. It is in some ways, but in other ways it's actually pretty good. So let's look at it with an open mind. Alright, so it's supposed to be Spider-Man that looks like a samurai, or a samurai that looks like Spider-Man, something along those lines. So that makes me wonder why it's red and green. Why did they decide to make Spider-Man red and green primarily? If you look at all of his quasi-web-designed armor, you have red and then green, which is not Spider-Man-esque at all. Then if you look at the face, we have purple and green and red. That looks really weird. I don't know why they went with that color scheme. It totally throws off a lot of the aesthetic. If they had simply gone with a navy blue, it would have looked way better, or even black. But they didn't. It's very strange that they did that. Then we also have this really dark purple for the pants and some of the under armor, which I don't get. And then lastly, we get a little bit of a royal blue on the back. Why? Why is the only blue we have on the back, and why is it such a royal blue that it's almost purple? I don't understand that design choice at all, and I think that's why a lot of people aren't liking this figure. It already doesn't have that much about it that screams Spider-Man when it very easily could. And then they went and changed the color scheme on it. So I don't know what's up with that. So as far as it not looking like Spider-Man, obviously it's a samurai and Spider-Man. They don't have much in common. I get that. It's not, to me, a big deal that it doesn't have a lot screaming Spider-Man. But what does bug me is that some of the things could be easily more Spider-Man-esque. If you look at the armor here on the waist, it's completely square. All of those lines could have easily been web-shaped, but they're not. We have web-shaped lines on the arms, on the hands, somewhat on the boots, but none on the waist armor, and almost none on the neck armor, and none on the shoulder armor. It's just at the very end that we have a little bit of that scalloping. I don't get that. They only really did it on the head, effectively. I don't understand that. They could have easily made it way more Spider-Man-esque, way more web-looking, and they didn't do that. It's very strange to me. They did kind of sculpt a web pattern into the torso, but that's hardly enough to save it. You know what I mean? It's kind of too little too late type of deal. The web design, or the spider design on it is okay. It's a little bit stylized, but it's supposed to be, so that's fine. It kind of looks like it has a smiley face on it, though, so that's a little odd. But they did put a spider logo on this little Tonto right here, and then they have a spider logo on the large sword, which is also mirrored on the back. So, I mean, it's not totally devoid of Spider-Man-ishness. I don't know how to word that any better. Spider-Man-like details, but it's just missing a lot. And I totally understand why people are not liking this guy so much. So let's talk about accessories before we go on to the figure anymore. You already saw that we have the sword with the scabbard, so that's a good thing. I mean, it's a very samurai-esque feature, so we kind of needed that. And then we have the little web shooters, which are on his wrist, which can come off. They can be removed, and the reason they can be removed is because you have web shooters, which actually have the grappling hooks connected to them, which is a fantastic feature. I love this. I love that they used a period accurate type of item to represent his webbing, so that's fantastic, that's great. And they used a really nice tiny fine chain with really nicely done grappling hooks, so that's a great feature. I love those two accessories. And then lastly, we just have some interchangeable hands. So you have the 2 fist hands, the 2 web shooting hands, 2 gripping hands, and then 2 other gripping hands. Now he doesn't have any guns or anything, but you can use those gripping hands for the sword and for the scabbard. As far as the articulation on this guy, it's pretty standard based compared to all of the other movie realization figures. The head is on a ball peg, and the neck is as well, so you get really good range. You can pretty much move it however you want to without any limitation, so that's a good thing. This neck piece right here has a hinge and a ball peg connected to it, so it'll move around out of the way as you need it to, so that's okay. The shoulders have a standard ball hinge with this armor connected to the shoulder itself on a ball peg, so it won't get in the way too much. So that's a really good thing. Like I said, there are good things about this figure on a technical level. Unfortunately, not so much on the design level. You get your full rotation and your full bicep swivel. This one's really stiff, but it is in there. You have your double jointed elbow, which works nicely. A little bit hollow looking, but just barely. So I think that's fine. I like those elbows. And then for the wrists, we have the same hinge and swivel design that we've seen on all of these other guys, which works just fine. For the torso, we just have a single ball peg, which works well enough. It leans in pretty much every direction, and it has the full rotation, so no problems there. This whole area is soft. This is a floating piece. These guys are soft, but they're actually connected to the legs, so they won't get in the way too much. You can bring the legs up pretty far forward, even though they're just a standard ball peg. Pretty far out to the side. So no real problems there. You do get a thigh swivel in there, so that's good. You have a double jointed knee, which works really well. I like those knees a whole lot for the baggy pants. It's great. And then for the ankles, we have a true ball hinge, so we do get a little bit of an ankle rocker out of them, but mostly they're just going to go forward and back. You can't really move them too far to the side due to the sculpt. A couple things worth noting for the lower body. This is sculpted totally crooked. I don't know why it's so crooked. It doesn't look good at all because it's not hanging in a natural way at all, so that's a bummer. Other thing worth noting is he's kind of knock-kneed. You can't really get him to stand in a way that doesn't make him look knock-kneed, which it's not a huge deal, especially once you get him posed, but if you wanted to just kind of like have an armor collection of all these movie realization or manga realization figures, it's going to look a little bit weird. Obviously not a deal breaker. Last thing worth noting is the scabbard back here goes on with a ball peg, and so you can kind of peg that in a little bit farther and it's going to stay in place. If you want to pull it out a little bit, you can move it around. So if you need to lean it for him to grab it or something like that, you can do that. So that's kind of a cool feature. So technically, on an objective level, there's a lot good about this figure, but I would argue that it's objectively bad to make Spider-Man green and purple and red and royal blue and dark purple, just because that's not what Spider-Man looks like, and it takes away a lot. Additionally, the helmet just doesn't look great. It looks very much like they said, well, I don't know what to do to make it look like Spider-Man. Let's throw webs on it and just kind of mush it into a helmet shape. Because that's what it looks like. It doesn't really have much definable, discernible, stylistic, or anything, really. It's just weird. So I can understand why people don't like it. Objectively, it's not too bad in many ways, but subjectively, it's a very weird looking and not great. So I don't know if you're going to want to get it or not. I forgot to mention, these rotate technically. You probably don't really want to do that because it'll obstruct the elbow hinge, but they can rotate. So anyway, there it is. That's what Spider-Man looks like, and that's how they turned him into that. It was a close interpretation of the figure, but still somehow very, very far off. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. I would appreciate that very much. And make sure you subscribe to this channel. I have new videos up every single day. So we talk about movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.